Donald Trump in Milwaukee for the Republican National Convention after surviving assassination attempt. In Beijing, a crucial meeting of the party's Central Committee gets underway. And police urge the public to be vigilant against scammers posing as computer technical support people. Hello and welcome to TVB News. Donald Trump called for unity and resilience a day after he survived an assassination attempt during a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. He told the Washington Examiner that he had rewritten his speech for the Republican National Convention, which opens on Monday in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Aides say Trump is in great spirits after a bullet pierced his right ear while he was speaking at Saturday's rally. Also calling for unity was U.S. President Joe Biden. Nazvi Karim has more.
Less than 48 hours after surviving an assassination attempt, Donald Trump's plane arrives in Milwaukee for the Republican National Convention, which opens on Monday. A bloodied right ear from a would-be assassin's rifle has arguably made the former president even stronger politically than before Saturday's incident in Butler, Pennsylvania. He's expected to be anointed on Thursday as the official Republican nominee for November's U.S. presidential election. But Saturday's shooting has raised concerns about security at the Fiserv Forum, venue for the convention. The Secret Service is confident in its security measures.
This is a national special security event. That designation is the highest level of security designation that the federal government can determine. So we are confident in these security plans that are in place for this event, and we're ready to go. It's been an 18-month process. We've worked together over that 18 months to develop operational security plans for any and all aspects of security related to this event.
The shooting has resulted in a kind of détente between Trump and U.S. President Joe Biden. Reports say Trump has revamped his convention speech to cut down on attacks on Biden and focus more on unity and issues such as the economy, immigration and tariffs. Republican National Committee Chair Michael Whatley said the party stands firmly behind President Trump, adding that politics is secondary to his well-being.
I think we need to be grateful that President Trump is alive and is actually going to be here. And certainly we look forward to him being here in Milwaukee. And I think it's going to be a tremendously important for him to be here and to deliver that message to America.
Also calling for unity is Biden, who said he had spoken to Trump over the phone and urged Americans to cool it down.
Last night, I spoke with Donald Trump. I'm sincerely grateful that he's doing well and recovering, and we had a short but good conversation. As I said last night, there is no place in America for this kind of violence or any violence for that matter. Unity is the most elusive goal of all. But nothing is important than that right now, unity.
Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
The U.S. Secret Service is investigating how a gunman armed with an AR-style rifle was able to get close enough to shoot and injure former President Donald Trump at a rally on Saturday. The 20-year-old alleged shooter came to the attention of spectators who saw him acting strangely outside the campaign event before tipping off law enforcement. Tracy Furness has more.
Former President Donald Trump walking into the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, Saturday.
It was a crowd that seemed very relaxed and family-oriented. You saw couples with holding hands or with children. People had picnic blankets. The mood was pretty upbeat.
Then this.
Take a look at what happened.
Shots fired at Trump from a nearby roof. A bullet grazing his ear. He still managed a defiant fist pump. Police snipers fired back at the shooter, killing him. The suspect, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, was a nursing home aide with no history of mental health issues and only graduated from high school in 2022.
I mean, he would sit alone at lunch. I mean, he was just an outcast, and you know how kids are nowadays, so they're going to see someone like that, and they're going to target him because they think it's funny or whatever. So it's the best way I can describe it. And it's honestly kind of sad. I don't want to say this is what provoked it, but you never know.
Crooks was able to get onto a roof near the rally, and questions have been asked as to why nearby buildings were not secured.
Secret Service has a motto. They can't get it wrong ever. You know, they have to get it right 100 out of 100 times. If they get it right 99 out of 100 times, that other time could lead to someone being killed or badly hurt, as is the case here, right? They screwed up, or whoever was responsible for that building screwed up.
We are investigating this as an assassination attempt, but also looking at it as a potential domestic terrorism act. So our counterterrorism division and our criminal divisions are working jointly together to determine the motive in this case.
The American people can rest assured that we will leave no stone unturned as we work to get to the bottom of what happened yesterday.
Tracy Furness, TVB News.
The third plenary session of the 20th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China began in Beijing today amid tight security. Kickstarting the four-day meeting, President Xi Jinping delivered a work report on further deepening the country's reform and modernization. Jackie Lin reports.
The venue for the third plenary session was reportedly at Jinxi Hotel in Beijing's Haidian district. Tight security in its vicinity with a heavy police presence and roadblocks around the entrances and exits. Traffic restrictions implemented on multiple roads nearby. A visible presence of police vehicles as well. Beijing's public security authorities issued a notice banning the use of drones and any aircraft in the capital's administrative area during the third plenum. Xinhua news agency reported that President Xi Jinping delivered a work report and explained the draft decision on further deepening reform and modernization. The third plenum was expected to be held last year but was delayed. Historically, the third plenum often sets long-term directions impacting the economy. China's work of reform and opening up officially began in 1978 during the third plenary session of the 11th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, when the plan by former leader Deng Xiaoping was endorsed. That put China's centrally planned economy on a more market-driven path, which helped propel the country's growth in the ensuing decades. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
The police said while the number of online scams in the first 5 months of this year have dropped by 10% compared with the same period last year, total losses rose over 35% to some $2.1 billion. Authorities also reminded residents to stay vigilant of a rising trend of scammers posing as technical support staff. Timothy Lee tells us more.
With more and more Hong Kongers falling victim to scammers in recent times, the police pointed out that online shopping scams made up the majority of such crimes. Despite recording just some 4,000 online scams between January and May this year, which is a similar figure from the same period last year, authorities emphasize total losses increased by more than $56 million. A fraud victim who lost $10 million says she was tricked into contacting and sharing her information with scammers who posed as software support staff.
After using my MacBook to browse the internet for travel information, a loud noise and flashing colours erupted from my screen, and an alert popped up saying, "Do not shut down, nor do anything except to call Apple security." After 2.5 days of scammer interaction, I received a 10 o'clock at night phone call from a police officer Wong from the Anti-Deception Coordination Centre, who expressed concern about the fraudulent activities involving my bank account.
The police said most of the recent victims were English-speaking expatriates.
For this type of scam, we categorize it as technical support scam. Actually, this kind of scam has already happened in the world for some times, and especially Europe, American, and Singapore. The reason why these kind of scam target English-speaking population is because nowadays the operation system that we are using in most of our computers are Western-based, I would say. So the language we use are mostly English.
The police reminded residents that tech companies usually do not take the initiative to offer computer or software repair services. The force urged the community to avoid calling numbers displayed on pop-up windows or install software of unknown origin. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Shoplifting is on the rise in the city. Authorities recorded a 12% growth of such crimes year on year in the first 5 months of this year. Police say there's a wide range in value of stolen items, adding that most cases are connected with the increasing adoption of self-checkout registers in the city's shops. Timothy Lee again.
Hong Kong is facing a rise of shoplifting cases this year. In the first 5 months of this year, overall crimes reached close to 37,000, a rise of 3% year on year. While an increase in shoplifting is much more noticeable at 3,600 cases, close to a 12% growth year on year. More than 2,200 people were arrested. Items stolen range from a pack of chocolates costing just several dollars to 2 bottles of wine at an estimated cost of $130,000. Shoplifting hotspots include Mongkok, Tsuen Wan, and Tseung Kwan O, mostly crowded areas and shopping districts. Some of the most popular stolen items are nutritional supplements and pharmaceutical products. Losses also adjust accordingly to seasonal factors, which rise dramatically during Christmas and Chinese New Year. The police noted the rising trend was fueled by the widespread adoption of self-checkout registers among supermarkets and retail chains in the city. Authorities pointed out that many shoplifters were amateurs and included professionals such as doctors or accountants who committed the crimes because of psychological factors. This as the police urged businesses to make use of CCTV cameras or similar devices to strengthen security. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
In late May, a 4-year-old girl suffered a cardiac arrest at Yanhua Hospital after receiving stitches on her head. The girl remains in critical condition. The hospital authority is unable to determine the cause of the cardiac arrest so far. Emergency medicine and pediatric specialists have been invited to review the current clinical guidelines for treating children. Jackie Lin with the details.
On May 25th, 4-year-old Samyut fell at home, leading to a 2-centimeter gash on the back of her head. She was taken to the Accident and Emergency Department of Yanhua Hospital the same night, where nurses sutured her wound with 3 stitches. Right after 3 minutes of stitching, Samyut lost consciousness and her pulse. She regained her heartbeat after about 18 minutes. She was clinically diagnosed as having hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy, which is a brain injury that occurs when the brain experiences a decrease in oxygen or blood flow. Since then, Samyut remains hospitalized in the intensive care unit. The hospital authority's chief executive Tony Ko visited the girl and her parents.
I think this is an unfortunate event that the patient, when she was receiving treatment in our hospitals, now is in a critical stage. Since the whole care process is within our hospitals, I think it's appropriate for the hospital authority and the hospital to express our apology that such events has happened.
He says several emergency medicine and pediatric specialists are set to complete reviewing the HA's clinical guidelines on treating children.
For example, when doing such procedures, how to better communicate with the patients and the relative, how to closely monitor the patients. They are not investigating into the case, so this mainly the purpose is to review our present guidelines.
When asked if the case involved mistakes from the nurses or the patient service assistant, Tony Ko said as police investigations are underway, the HA couldn't make too many comments, but they will cooperate with the probes. Yanhua Hospital said the 2 staff members involved did not take leave, but have been transferred from their clinical duties. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Still ahead, Bastille Day parade in the French capital. A call on the public to compare prices before placing orders with movers. And a government scheme to encourage middle-aged or elderly people to rejoin the labor force. Welcome back. A lavish military parade was held in Paris to mark Bastille Day, also known as French National Day. This year's celebrations combined the Paris Olympics torch relay with paying tribute to those who freed France from Nazi occupation 80 years ago. Danny Zhou reports.
Thousands of soldiers and some 162 horses marched below the towering Arc de Triomphe. Among them were those who participated in NATO missions and 3 German officers from a cross-border brigade. In the run-up to the Paris Olympics, this year's event was moved to Avenue Foch, just a stone's throw from the traditional route on Champs-Élysées. French President Emmanuel Macron reviewed the troops. The event celebrated the 80th anniversary of the liberation of France, with a reenactment of D-Day landings and a presentation by service members from 31 countries whose troops contributed to the liberation of France from Nazi occupation during World War II. Over 60 aircraft flew in formation, including British Typhoon fighter jets, French Mirage and Rafale fighters, as well as rescue helicopters. July the 14th is a day to remember the historical storming of the Bastille in 1789, which heralded the start of the French Revolution. The relics of the original Bastille fortress have mostly vanished, yet the spirit of the revolution still lives on. The event wrapped up with the arrival of the Olympic torch and cadets forming the interlocking Olympic rings, as the French capital is all set to host the Summer Games in less than 2 weeks. The torch passed by many iconic Parisian sites, starting at the Grand Palais and finishing at the Place de l'Hôtel de Ville. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
The leader of Nepal's largest communist party, Khaja Prasad Oli, will on Monday take his oath as the Himalayan nation's new prime minister after the collapse of a previous coalition government. 3-time Prime Minister Oli will lead a coalition government of his Communist Party of Nepal and the Nepali Congress Party. The last government, headed by Pushpa Kamal Dahal, collapsed on Friday after Oli's party withdrew its support. Oli's biggest challenge will be balancing Nepal's ties with neighbors, India and China, with both countries seeking to wield influence over the nation. Oli, 72, was born in a village in East Nepal and has been involved in politics since he was young. He has been jailed a total of 14 years for opposing the monarchy and has undergone kidney transplant surgeries. The Consumer Council found that the price for all-inclusive home moving services could vary by over 1.3 times. From May to June, the Council sent questionnaires to 126 movers asking for their terms and conditions. They include quotation, charging methods, and surcharges. 20 of the companies responded. 12 of them offered the all-inclusive packages. The home moving services for 40 pieces of furniture and 39 boxes of items from North Point to Meifu on a weekend is priced from $6,800 to $12,000. For per-item charges, there was also a 6- to 7-fold price difference. With that, the watchdog urged the public to compare prices before placing an order to prevent disputes. The Labor Department's Reemployment Allowance pilot scheme is open for registration today. Middle-aged or elderly people who re-enter the labor force could receive up to $20,000. The 3-year scheme was announced in the policy address last year to unleash the potential labor force. People aged 40 or above who have not been engaged in any remunerated employment for 3 consecutive months or more are eligible to apply. Participants who have worked full-time for 6 consecutive months will be given an allowance of $10,000. Those who have worked full-time for 12 consecutive months will be provided with an additional $10,000. The allowance for participants completing part-time employment will be halved. Employers who have hired workers under the reemployment scheme can at the same time enroll in the employment program for the elderly and middle-aged and receive on-the-job training allowance. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Pearl Magazine is up shortly. Bye for now.